Ever since I was a child I liked theater. This continued to such an extent that in my teenage years I asked my mother to pay for theater classes for me. When I went to class I made the most of it so that I didn't feel I was wasting my family's money. I don't know if I was the best pupil in my classes, but I know that I learned a lot of things that I still remember to this day. It was no surprise to anyone when I decided to study arts in college. I graduated with the best grades in my senior class. After a short period working in an office I applied for a job as an assistant director. I was interviewed by a tall imposing lady named Martha. Mrs. Martha turned out to be a director and writer who needed an assistant to help her run the production of her first play. She asked me to read a scene from her play and asked me what I thought of it. She questioned me about the themes and narrative devices that appeared in the text. To summarize, the play was set in the 1950s and touched on classic themes such as romance, loneliness and unrequited love. I could feel that the story was well constructed and that the characters had enough personality to be the protagonists of a meaningful story. I thought a potential audience might love the play and that word of mouth would be good. After reading the scene I gave my opinion to the director. I could tell from her expression that she was more than pleased with my analysis. I left the interview with a certain optimism. A week later Mrs. Martha called me to announce that the assistant job was mine if I wanted it. Of course I accepted and showed up for work the next day. In her office I was able to read the entire play for the first time. It was even better than I expected. I thought that if it was a play written by a famous author it would surely be destined to be a hit. We discussed the main themes of the play and some questions regarding auditions. We wanted to make sure that the profile of the actors matched the characters. The auditions would be held the following week by Martha and her best friend. Once the auditions were over, we started rehearsals. That was a moment of great pressure for me because I had to coordinate the rehearsals. I remember getting overly anxious when an actor was absent. In those cases I would take their place so that we could continue. This sometimes involved taking the place of a female character, as was the case of Dorothy, the main character's best friend. Whereas Dorothy has already found love and is married, the leading character still doesn't know who her husband will be and suffers for it. So Dorothy gives comfort and advice to her friend throughout the story. On one occasion, when rehearsals were not flowing as they should, I borrowed a wig, put it on as best I could, and then went on to play the character of Dorothy. This helped us all relax and have a few laughs. I never imagined that putting on that wig would be a sort of preview of what would happen at the premiere of the play. The problem with Mrs. Martha's project was that we didn't have much of a budget. The director herself had requested a loan to be able to carry out the production, even though she had the assistance of a small production company. This does not mean that the elements we had were of poor quality. The sets, lighting and music equipment were more than decent. But we didn't have any pennies to spare and had to be careful not to overspend. The tight budget meant we had no money for understudies. So if anything happened, the person who would go on stage to play this or that character was going to be me. It didn't matter if it was a male or female character. Of course, as assistant director I knew the play through and all the characters, their personalities and their backgrounds. Taking into account my theater classes and that I was the one who coordinated the rehearsals of the play, I felt prepared to play any character. But I wondered what would happen if I had to play a female character. The opening night of the play finally arrived. Ticket sales had gone better than expected. A couple of actors and I had put up posters advertising the play all over town. Everything was going well until the actress who played Dorothy called to say that she was sick and would not be able to make it. I looked at Mrs. Martha and could see the nervousness in her big eyes. She wanted it to be a perfect night, but we had already hit our first major setback. From what I knew about her, I could tell that she was very superstitious and would surely take this eventuality as a bad omen, not only for that evening, but for the production itself. I knew she was counting on me to perform in case an actor was absent and I had to fill in for a male character. But since it was an actress who was absent, she thought we were facing a huge problem. But of course I wasn't going to let her down. I knew the dialogue of all the characters to the letter, including the female characters. If I had to play Dorothy, I was going to do it. In fact, I had already done it a couple of times in rehearsals. I quickly went to the dressing room and tried on the red polka dot dress that corresponded to Dorothy's character. It might have been a little tight, but it fit. I really liked the dress because it was very pretty and because it suited Dorothy, a young housewife from the 1950s. I searched through some boxes until I found a pair of beautiful red shoes that were part of the character's outfit. Walking in them, I felt a little weird, but it wasn't too difficult since the heels weren't that high. While I waited for the makeup artist to arrive, I revised my lines of dialogue. Finally, the makeup artist showed up and was surprised to see me in a woman's dress and shoes. I asked her to do my makeup, and I can assure you that she did an excellent job of hiding my masculine features. She applied a red lipstick that matched the dress and shoes perfectly. Then I asked her to borrow a black wig from another show that was running at the same theater complex. She did me the favor and put the wig on my head, combed it and even added 2 cute red bows. When I looked in the mirror, I couldn't believe it. My look was completely different. The director of the play came to the dressing room, and for a moment she didn't recognize me. She thought I was the original actress of the role of Dorothy. I told her what my plan was, and she thanked me. We embraced in a very tender way. Then she went to talk to the other actors, and the makeup artist painted my fingernails. That and a little hairspray was the finishing touch to my new look. I left the dressing room and went backstage. The actors of the play could not recognize me at first. We rehearsed a bit, which helped me adjust my tone of voice to sound like that of a young woman. The young, beautiful actress playing the lead character complimented me and told me I looked spectacular. I returned the compliment. Just before the play started, we had our makeup touched up. Then Mrs. Martha wished us to break our leg, as they say in theater. The play went quite well, except for a couple of light and sound glitches. But that is to be expected for a small independent production. The audience reacted very well and applauded enthusiastically at the end. Even louder was the applause when the director of the play revealed my true identity and told the audience that I had taken the risk of playing a female character, heels and all. I bowed to the audience, being very careful not to let my wig fall off. As I had predicted, word of mouth was very good. Martha's play was not an unparalleled success, but it was enough for her to recoup what she invested. And it also served as proof that her artistic vision was on the right track. I was proud of her and happy that all her hard work paid off. For my part, I became the understudy actor for the play. Sometimes I performed in male roles, but there was one evening when I got to play the female lead. That evening I made a big effort to wear her long purple dress and even dared to put a tiara on my wig. I felt really cute in that outfit. After that production, I had jobs as assistant director in several plays where I had the luxury of working with famous directors. All thanks to Mrs. Martha's recommendation. In some productions I also got to perform. Sometimes I played male roles and sometimes female roles. My female roles include a nurse, a cook and a princess, just to name a few. Although I have never dressed as a woman off stage, on stage I have no problem wearing shoes, dresses and makeup. I like to feel pretty and get into the role and mindset of a woman. It's an interesting and fun challenge. The end.